Today, we are going to tell a story about a young man named Zack. He lived in a quiet village, but he had a very restless heart. Zack believed that the most important thing in life was to be liked by everyone. He would change his opinions, his hobbies, and even his personality just to fit in. This is the story of his journey to discover his true self. He learned a lesson about the real meaning of friendship and self-worth. Let's begin the story of the boy who wanted to please everyone. In a small, peaceful village called Willow Creek lived a young man named Zack. The village was surrounded by green hills and a gentle river. Zack was friendly and kind, but he carried a heavy weight on his shoulders. He had a deep desire for everyone to like him. He was afraid of being disliked or judged, so he tried to be a perfect friend. He wanted to please every single person he met, which was an impossible task. Zack was like a chameleon, a lizard that changes its color to match its surroundings. When he was with the bakers, Zack would pretend he was passionate about baking. He loved to talk about bread and pastries with them. He would praise their sourdough and talk about the perfect oven temperature. He did this even though he knew nothing about baking. When he was with the farmers, he would talk about the weather and the crops. He would pretend to be very interested in soil quality and planting times. He would agree with everything they said, nodding his head enthusiastically. He wanted the farmers to think he was one of them. When he spent time with the village artists, he suddenly became an art lover. He would use words like masterpiece and expression to describe their paintings. He did this even if he didn't understand them. He would change his opinions and interests depending on who he was with. He thought this would make everyone like him, but he was slowly losing himself. Zack had a childhood friend named Lily, who was different. She was honest and true to herself. She loved to paint and wasn't afraid to say so. She noticed the change in Zack. "Why do you always agree with everyone, Zack?" she asked him one day. "It's like you don't have your own thoughts." Zack just shrugged, feeling a little embarrassed. He didn't know how to explain his fear. One day, the village announced its annual festival with a team competition. Teams had to build a raft to race down the river. Zack was excited, but also very nervous. The bakers, the farmers, and the artists all wanted him on their team. They all thought he shared their interests and skills. Zack, in his effort to please everyone, had told each group that he would join them. He had promised the bakers he would help design a raft shaped like a giant loaf of bread. He had promised the farmers he would help build a strong, sturdy raft. He used his pretend knowledge of wood to convince them. And he had promised the artists he would help paint their raft with beautiful designs. He was now in a very difficult situation. The day before the competition, the leaders of the three teams found out. They learned about Zack's multiple promises and were very disappointed. The head baker, a large man named Thomas, said, "I thought you were a baker at heart, Zack. You lied to us." The lead farmer, a stern woman named Maria, said, "We counted on you." She added, "We thought you understood the importance of honest work." The lead artist, a gentle soul named Pierre, looked the most hurt. "A true artist values honesty and passion, Zack," Pierre continued. "You pretended to have both." Zack felt terrible. He had tried so hard to make them all like him, but now they all disliked him. He had achieved the exact opposite of his goal. He felt ashamed and alone. Zack ran away from the village center and hid in the woods by the river. He felt like a failure and didn't know who he was anymore. Was he a baker? A farmer? An artist? He was none of those things. He was just a boy who was lost. After a while, Lily found him and sat down next to him. She just handed him a small, smooth stone she had painted. It had a picture of a single, strong tree. "This tree doesn't try to be a flower or a bush," she said softly. "It's just a tree, and that's why it's beautiful. It's strong and true to itself." Zack looked at the stone and then at Lily. "But I don't know who I am," he whispered. "I've spent so much time trying to be what others want. I've forgotten what I want," he finished. Lily smiled. "Then maybe it's time to find out," she said. "What do you enjoy doing, Zack? Not for others, but for you." Zack thought for a long time about all the things he had pretended to like. Baking was okay, but he didn't love it. Farming was hard work. Art was nice to look at, but he didn't have the patience to create it. Then he remembered something from his childhood. He used to love exploring the woods and learning about nature. "I love the forest," Zack said, his voice a little stronger. "I love learning about the paths, the trees, and the animals." Lily's face lit up. "That's wonderful, Zack. That's a part of who you are. You don't have to hide it." The next day was the festival, and Zack knew he had to apologize. He went to the bakers, the farmers, and the artists and told them the truth. He explained that he was scared of not being liked. He simply said he was sorry. The teams were still hurt, but they saw the honesty in Zack's eyes. It was the first time they had seen the real Zack. Thomas, the baker, grunted, "Well, at least you're being honest now." Maria, the farmer, nodded and said, "Honesty is a good start." Zack didn't have a team for the raft race, so he stood on the riverbank. He watched and cheered for everyone. He admired them all for being true to themselves. After the race, Zack went into the forest he loved so much. He spent the whole afternoon walking the familiar paths. He felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. This was his place. This was who he was. He was Zack, the boy who loved the forest. From that day on, Zack stopped trying to be someone else. He spent his free time exploring the woods and became an expert on them. He was passionate and happy, and it showed. People in the village started to notice his change in him. He now had his own opinions and his own interests. If someone asked him about baking, he would smile and say, "I don't know much about baking." He would add, "But I can tell you which berries in the forest are safe to eat." Some people didn't understand the new Zack, but many others were drawn to him. They were interested in his newfound confidence and passion. People started coming to him for advice about the forest. He started leading small groups on guided walks. He was a natural teacher, and his passion was contagious. He was no longer just Zack. He was Zack, the guide. One day, a group of children got lost in the forest. The parents were very worried as the sun was setting. The villagers searched, but the forest was large and dark. Maria, the farmer, remembered Zack's skills. "Get Zack," she shouted. "He knows the forest better than anyone." They found Zack, and he immediately organized a search party. He was calm and focused, a true leader. After an hour of searching, Zack found the children, huddled together but safe. He led them back to the village. The parents were overjoyed, and the entire village gathered around Zack to thank him. They celebrated him for his unique skills and his brave heart. Thomas the baker clapped him on the back and said, "We are proud of you, Zack." Pierre the artist added, "You have found your own art, the art of the forest." Zack felt a warmth spread through his chest. It was a feeling of being liked for who he truly was. He looked over at Lily, who was smiling at him. He understood the meaning of the painted stone completely now. He had finally grown his own roots. Zack continued to be the village guide. He was respected and admired, not because he agreed with everyone, but because he was authentic. He learned that true friendship isn't about changing yourself to be liked. It's about being yourself and finding people who like you for who you are. By being true to himself, Zack not only found happiness, but also became a valuable member of his community. The most important approval you can ever receive is your own. He was finally happy and at peace with himself.